True story time. I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mum was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of the hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of summer. My mum had her window open, which was directly behind the bed, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the door frame of my mum's room. Her door was open and you could partially see him into my bedroom. This was strange because our cat typically would always sleep in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mum and wake her up. In the 3 or 4 seconds it took to wake her up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up in the door frame and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen door. Again, we were on the first floor, so it was maybe a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help and someone to call 911. The police came, but they didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mum swore up and down that she'd locked that door that night, with a deadbolt and a chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. Just to clarify, our apartment was on the ground level, so my mother didn't hurl me into potential paralysis, just a 3-ish foot drop to grass. The only potential sign that we could have seen this coming was that my mum noticed someone stealing her lady garments out of the communal washing machines for a few weeks prior to the incident. This was in the 90s, so security cameras weren't too common in apartment areas. The theft stopped after the break-in. I've had a few paranormal events that's happened throughout my life. Most of them are pretty tame, but there is one that's got to me and it still sticks with me today. About 4 years ago, I was ending my freshman year at college. I had lived in the dorms with a kick-ass roommate and pretty much had a great experience altogether. Towards the end of my last semester, something seemed different in the hall of my dorms. We were still our lively selves, but just walking into the dorms would give you this massive feeling of dread. We all wrote it off as stress of finals approaching, but it just felt off. Well, one night after studying, I decided to hit the shower, just so I can wake up and make my way to class in a few hours. Before I keep going, I should go ahead and set the layout of our hall and the bathroom. Our hall was one of many halls on a single floor. Each hall had 4 rooms that accommodated 2 people each, or a single room for the RAs. The entrance to the halls were massive steel doors with a small window located at one end, and across from it was the bathroom. It seriously felt like a prison block rather than a living quarter for college students. As for the bathroom itself, when you walked in, you were immediately met with 2 sets of sinks, 2 sinks aside, on your left and on your right, with massive mirrors facing each other, creating an infinite loop of mirrors. Then, past that, you had 2 urinals and a toilet stall to your left, 2 showers on your right. When facing the left set of sinks, you can clearly see into the showers from the mirror if the door is open, and in the right set of sinks you can see the reflection of the shower. The door of the bathroom was identical to the entrance to the hall, a massive steel frame with a small window that didn't allow for much view, with good reason. The door was propped open with a giant wooden wedge that couldn't be moved unless you're really trying to close that door. So, back to the story. I'm all alone in the bathroom, gearing up to go in the shower. I throw my change of clothes on the right side of the sink. That way I can reach around the stall and grab them. Once I set my stuff down, I happen to look up in the mirror, and I can see in the distance something almost shimmering inside the shower stall. As I look at it, I notice that it slowly gets closer, like it's jumping from the furthermost layer to the next closer layer. I'm kind of unsettled, but I don't think much of it other than me coming down off a massive Red Bull, Adderall, and a caffeine kick. But it starts transitioning faster. As it gets closer, I can start making out details, but nothing vivid or striking. It's just a dark mass that looks like it's covered in hair. At this point, I'm freaking out hardcore, since this thing is getting closer in the mirror, and I'm pretty much frozen to the spot. As it gets to the fourth layer, I get the closest look at this thing I'll ever get, and I regret every minute of it. It wasn't hair, but some kind of long, flowing veil. You could see through it, partially, but from the torso down it was just solid black. And the face, I can't describe it. It was clearly human, but at the same time it was so far removed. There were eyes, they were black but definitely glowing somehow. I only saw this for maybe a second at the most, but it's burned into my mind forever. Then the lights cut out and I hear the door slam. It's pitch black in the bathroom, so I can't see this thing anymore. I go to open the door, but it won't budge, and then this intense smell of blood hits me out of nowhere, and that's all I remember. I woke up later in the hospital. From what my RA claims, he was on his way to go use the bathroom sometime after this happened, where he found me in the shower stall with my shirt covered in blood from a massive nosebleed. He tried asking me what happened, and according to him, all I could respond with was, "It saw me." I start freaking out. So he calls an ambulance and they get me to the hospital. All while I'm apparently freaking out, so they sedate me to calm me down. I'm coming to around the time my parents show up, worried sick of course. I asked them what happened, and according to the doctors, they believe I had a seizure. However, they ran a CAT scan soon after, and I was cooperate enough to do so. They found no sign of any seizure occurring, not to mention epilepsy doesn't run in my family at all. And having taken Adderall countless times in the past and since then, I've never had a similar side effect, neither hallucinations or potential seizures. To this day, I still can't bring myself to look in the mirror for more than a minute, and just being stuck in a room with one for an extended period of time will just cause me to have a breakdown. I've been to therapy, going on 3 years because of this, and I've talked to countless religious leaders who, besides giving me the general, well, you should turn to God in times like these, don't recognise any kind of pattern from anything demonic or evil. And the strangest thing is that before the incident, there were no actual claims of activities in these dorms. And since I left, there hasn't been any either. It was just one isolated incident. This was the late 80s, early 90s, so I was around 6 to 7 years old. I'm at home with my sister, who's 14 to 15 at the time. We grew up in a small Texas town. Everyone knows everyone. We're home alone this particular night, and my folks let my sister babysit me frequently. Anyway, it's about 8 p.m. in the winter. Deserts get pretty damn cold, so it is dark and we're in the common room since that's where the TV was, watching 60 Minutes or 48 Hours or Hard Copy or some shit. Those 1-hour news pieces on CBS that chronicle large crimes in depth. Trafficking, murders, kidnappings, and the like. Basically, a gritty Lifetime special. This one was a typical story, guy next door that was quiet, went on a rampage next door, neighbour's house, mutilating them, kidnapping their daughter. Well, the thing about our house, common room, is the door leading to the backyard was a large glass door on the wall to the ceiling. There was nothing but blackness beyond it unless you had the back light on. We did not. The front door is on the other side of the room with a small entryway. This is a solid door, so you cannot see what is beyond it, with a glass storm door on the outside of it. About 45 minutes into the show, they're talking about the ongoing manhunt for this crazy guy, and then bam, 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 front door bangs like crazy. We jump the fuck up and scream like banshees. Dead silence now. The only lights on in the house are the kitchen, down the hall from the common room we were in, and the lights from the TV. We start thinking that something on the porch had simply blown against the door. We had some planters and a rocking chair out there. This was Texas, crazy strong winds out of the way. Well, a minute or two of silence and us holding each other post-adrenaline overdose passes. Just when we're about to declare everything is safe, we hear the storm door on the outside of our front door close. Fuck. Someone had to have opened that door to be able to bang on the front door like that. Shit. We're both frozen in the middle of the room on the floor where we've been watching TV. My sister crawls over to the TV and turns it off. It was an old TV, so you had to turn that metal dial to switch it off, which did a mildly loud thunk. Now it is just us in a room dimly lit by the kitchen light down the hall. I do not remember how much time passed with me and my sister still crouched by the now off TV, but we kept making eye contact, then looking at the front door. I remember this part vividly. I'm on my knees, sitting on my feet, and I turn around to look at the back wall of windows and the glass door. We hear and I see the back door knob turn. It was locked on the knob, but not deadbolted. It rattles slightly, as if someone's gently trying the handle. Neither of us make a sound, just held our breath. Then bam, 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 bam. Loud as hell, as if someone's trying to force the door open, just jerking it back and forth. The whole wall of windows is vibrating violently, and I can see with each jerk of the door how slight my reflection gets fuzzy, then clear, then fuzzy. My sister flips her shit and screams bloody murder. I am still frozen on the floor. She gets up and basically drags me into her bedroom, slams the door, throws the mattress and anything she can find in front of the door. Thankfully, she remembered the phone, one of those ungodly, heavy, beige, plastic, long, metal antenna portable phones. We still had to direct call the sheriff, and in her panic, she didn't remember the number. She just hit redial on the phone. It was one of her friends, and she tells them in broken gasps that someone's trying to get into our house and needs to get there right fucking now. The profanity sticks out here more than anything else. Who knows, young brain. I'm curled up on the floor and I can't stop shaking. We don't hear anything else until we see the headlights of my sister's friends and her parents driving up to the house. We never did find out who was at the door or why. There were no signs of anything happening, but a couple of scuff marks on the bottom of the back door that we could not remember if they were there beforehand or not. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before or since, but I'm damn sure I will never forget to lock the door after that. If you've made it this long, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate anyone watching this, especially to the end, so thank you so much.